This is a gospel that is 100% about Peter, our namesake, the first pope, the first bishop of Rome, the first Pontificus Maximus, supreme pontiff. More importantly, the first servants of the servants of God. Peter is fantastic, isn't he? He's us. He is so basic, he is just mud, blood, guts, and beer. That's what Peter is. Peter goes, they leave the upper room finally. They've been wimpoids in there for weeks now, and the Lord's appeared to them, so now they have enough gumption to go down to Galilee. They go to Galilee. They're at Peter's company, his boats. He's got like 3 or 5 boats out there, and he goes out on one of them and stays overnight on the boat. Zippo, nada, nothing, strikeout by way of fish. Sun comes up. There's the boss man on the beach. Says, hey guys. And at first they don't recognize him. They're human. They're seeing a resurrected individual. And then John, the one whom Jesus loved, my namesake, John the Beloved, always also known as John the Evangelist, says, it's the Lord. And they all race to get to the shore. And Jesus, in the most human of things, says, let's have breakfast. And this new catch that he has provided for them becomes breakfast. But now we're into the exciting part. The triple absolution. The triple absolution. Simon, son of John, do you love me? Not once, not twice, but thrice. Feed my lambs. And notice he doesn't call him by his papal name, Peter, that he had given him. He calls him Simon, son of John. This is very important back then. Who you were son of was everything. Your lineage was everything. So he's emphasizing the fact, hey, you, in everything that you are, and all the honor of your family, do you love me? It's very much like when we do a funeral mass. And let's say the guy went through life, he was called Jack. At his funeral mass, we call him John, because that's how God will know him, by the name he was baptized in. That's why we insist that people pick Christian names for baptism. Never saw that before, eh? That's where that connection is, because that's your name in heaven. My sister, my oldest sister, Helen Mary, her name was connected. I had Helen Mary, Catherine Ann, Anne Marie. We were Presbyterian. No, we weren't. We're Catholic. And she likes to be called Helen. And I always remind her, in heaven, she's Helen Mary. So my mom and dad will win in the end anyway. So back to the story. So there's Peter. He gets the triple absolution, the 3 forgivenesses. You're forgiven, you're forgiven, you're forgiven. Why did he need 3? Because he had had 3 opportunities, and he had denied the master not once, not twice, but thrice. And so those 3 horrific sins have to be absolved. And Jesus waits for this moment. And also think of it. Where did Jesus find the first pope? On his boat. On his boat. Come, I will make you fishers of men. And where does he wait to absolve him? He could have absolved him in the upper room, did he? No. No. He waits till they're down on the boat again. Right on the water, on the beach. Do you love me? Feed my lambs. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. He makes sure Peter understands the ministry that is waiting for him and that he's going to accept it this time 100% and not wimp out. And Peter does. And this is the same thing that Christ does for us all the time. How many chances does he give us? An endless amount of chances. Way more than 3, right? And we've seen this again and again. We'll be going down the street. There's a dude. He looks dirty. He's a different pigmentation than us. And we make all sorts of calculations. Look at that guy. He's a loser. Look at that guy. He's a criminal. I'm afraid he's going to hurt me. He's going to rob my car from me. And the poor guy's just starving on the side of the street. And do we help him? No. Now, some wonderful people do. But most of us. The other day, we had Friday morning Mass here in our beautiful cathedral-like church that none of us should ever take for granted. And I went over to the school afterwards. I had Mass with my buddy, Father Christopher. What do you do when you, the night before, meet the students at the bus at 12:30 in the morning? Well, you give the Mass the next morning to your associate. So I was kind of celebrating. He's young, he can handle it. I was sleeping in the extra chair over here. And we get through Mass. We go over to the school because it's VIP day. And every child got to pick a grandmother, a grandfather, a niece, a nephew, not niece and nephew, they were the niece or nephew, an uncle, an aunt, someone important in their life, a mentor, and had them over as their VIP. I love this tradition. And we have little bottles of water for everyone, and we have superstar donuts. And I'm not talking wimpy donuts. I'm not talking those little, illegitimate little circles that some parishes give to people. I'm talking bear claws. I'm talking Boston cream things. I'm talking things that keep you at LA Fitness for an additional 83 minutes, okay? This is championship stuff. And I had just returned from a superstar 8th grade trip. I meant what I said at the beginning of the Mass. You guys should be so proud of your 8th graders. They will be the only 8th graders in the country who got an appointment at the Vatican Embassy. They went into the embassy and they distinguished themselves. I have a buddy who works at the embassy. I was able to do this the old Roman way. Someone who knows a friend, who has a friend, who has an in. And so we were able to do it the old Vatican way and get our 8th graders in. And they had a blast. And they really distinguished themselves. These are fine young men and women in the making. Well, anyway, we go over, we say hi to everyone at the school, and then Father Chris and I hold our donuts. I am holding this donut like it is the lost treasure. It's going to be joined and married up with a venti chai tea latte with skim milk in the matter of minutes. And I covet it. And I gave Muir my bear claw that I had first claimed. No, apple fritter. It was actually an apple fritter. I want to be accurate here. And took the last Boston cream, invariably taking it from some 5-year-old who desperately wanted it. And I bring it down Gratiot over here, and we walk into the front office, and there's a young man standing there. He's an African-American young man. He obviously had not bathed. He was in trouble. But he was very respectful. Fathers, do you think you could help me? He didn't ask for money. Fathers, could you help me? So, lucky for us, the wonderful, wonderful parishioners who serve at St. Vincent de Paul were in the office that day. I've given them about 80% of the back section of our building because we had to kind of kick them out of the rectory because under protecting God's children, you can't have those groups in the rectory anymore as we're renovating. And so I've got them, they're occupying force in about a third of my office spaces right now. And they're back there with Deb Goff, and they're they're in confederation with each other, doing all sorts of secret planning, and that's fine with me because I trust Deb completely, and she's doing something back there. And a wonderful older woman from St. Vincent puts her arm on this young man and says, "Come with me, follow me," and takes her into the interview office. And the young man is taken care of. I'm heading back down to my office, the other end, still with my coveted donut. I'm tasting it at this point. I'm almost ready to put it in my pie hole. And then I think for a moment, John, you jackwagon, this kid probably hasn't eaten. And you can go out and buy 25 breakfasts if you want. So shame on me I had taken that long. I did a very quick and very proper Navy about face and got right back down there and went into the office where he was at, and I asked him if he had eaten, and of course he had not, and now he got the much coveted, much treasured donut. I use this as an example of how we must be women and men for others, for the greater glory of God, just like the apostles were. If you ever have a moment of doubting your faith, ask yourself this: if this whole resurrection story is just fantasy or wonderment or the way we wish things had gone, why would these men, these 11 men, risk their families, and all but one of them, John the Beloved, go to their death in the most horrific way possible? Horrible deaths, refusing to deny the Christ and his resurrection. Peter, the same one who denied him 3 times, is seen in the beautiful, beautiful first reading today that was very nicely read for us. There in the temple, preaching even though he was ordered not to, healing people left and right. This is the same coward who had denied the Christ not once, not twice, but thrice, because he knows he has risen. He has seen the risen Christ, and he is carrying out the job the risen Christ gave him as the first pope. And you and I must listen to that. You and I must guide our lives accordingly, because these are real, regular season games you and I are living. And Christ puts into every one of our days someone like the young man in front of the office. Fathers, can you help me? And you have to choose who you're going to be. Are you going to be like that wonderful volunteer at St. Vincent de Paul, who repeated Christ's words, "Follow me, follow me"? Our namesake Peter met a dreadful end before he met the Master again. He was going to be crucified the same way Christ was. And at his own insistence, he asked to be crucified upside down, because he wasn't worthy in his mind of the majestic death that is. It's a beautiful church in Rome you can see, where Peter literally is crucified upside down. How agonizing that had to be. And yet, he approached it knowing what was coming: eternal salvation. Each of us has to approach the Eucharist today, realizing this is truly the body and blood, soul and divinity of Jesus the Christ, which we as Roman Catholics are fortunate enough to receive into our bodies. Food for the journey. Right after Mass today, I'm going to go and anoint one of our parishioners out in Chesterfield Township, on the way to God right now. I'll anoint her and bring her viaticum, which is Eucharist, and viaticum means food for the journey, from this place to Christ. What better ambassador than to have Christ in you as you approach the heavenly gates? So as we exercise our faith, as we realize in the Easter season how lucky we are, let's not make our faith insular to ourselves. Let's expand it to everyone around us. And let's make sure we have a duty to our brothers and sisters all over the world, those who have nothing, those who starve, those who need clothing. This parish has a great tradition of providing for the poor. Bring that tradition into your own life. Bring that tradition into how you're kind, how you're merciful, how you're empathetic. Bring it into your marriage. I was inspired to add that today because from the presidential chair up there, I saw this rock star couple here in the first row, not that I want to embarrass anyone, holding hands the entire Mass. I was deeply touched by that. Make your marriage the message of Christ. Make your relationship with your children the message of Christ. And remember, he's standing there on the beach for all of us, waiting for us with bread and fish, waiting to have breakfast with us too. Let's come to him worthy when we meet him. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.